we're talking about math again. Every once in a while, there will be a math problem that goes viral on the internet, and it'll be something that has to do with the order of operations, and because people are sort of interpreting the order of operations differently, people will get different answers. There's typically two main answers that people end up getting, and then it'll turn into these big arguments of like, which one's the correct answer? I do think that some people, when they're doing these problems, are genuinely misinterpreting the order of operations, but I think more than that, it's usually just that they're poorly notated, and so because of that, it's just kind of unclear what order you're supposed to do things in. First, I'm just gonna go over the order of operations for anyone who maybe forgot what that is. A lot of people also refer to it as Pemdas, which stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, which when you're looking at a line of math, or I guess arithmetic would technically be the correct word, this is the order in which you do things. And I'm also going to note that multiplication and division happen at the same time as do addition and subtraction. So even though in the acronym multiplication comes before division and addition before subtraction, they're actually treated as the same, and so when you have either these two or these two both, you just go from left to right with those. I'm pointing this out because in online arguments over some of these problems that I've seen some people say you do multiplication before division or you do addition before subtraction, and you don't, you do them at the same time. So this is the most recent of these problems that I've seen go viral. At the time of me filming, it was trending on Twitter about a month ago. It was in November of 2020. I have no idea when I'm going to post this, so just for context, it was in November of 2020. And so first I'm going to go through how I would solve this problem and what I think is the correct answer, and then I'll kind of talk about where I think some of the confusion comes in. So first, I think all of us can agree we do that, right? It's in parentheses, undeniably, this is the first thing that we do. So then we have 6 divided by 2, and then this parentheses is now 3. So now what I was taught for a situation where you have a number followed by something in parentheses, all the way from like elementary school through then me getting a math degree, the way that I've always been taught to interpret this is that there's an implied multiplication sign. So between this 2 and the parentheses, we know that there's a multiplication sign despite the fact that it's not written, it's just kind of implied. So then you look at this and multiplication and division happen at the same time, so you just go from left to right. You have 6 divided by 2, which is 3 times 3, which equals 9. That's how I would do this problem. I personally think that 9 is the correct answer. However, a lot of people got 1. And I think that there are 3 things that happen that can cause this confusion where people will get 1 as an answer. One is that they know about this implied multiplication sign, but looking at Pemdas, they think multiplication comes before division, and therefore I multiply 2 times 3 first to get 6, and then I do 6 divided by 6, which equals 1. I think that's one of the less likely scenarios, but I do think that that happens. 2, I think that there are people who don't look at this as an implied multiplication. They just see the parentheses, and they of course know that it means multiplication, but they also think, oh well, there's a parentheses there, and so that's one of the first things in the order of operations, and therefore I do it first. I think that's something that happens as well, which then again would get you 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. The third thing, and I think that this is probably the most common, is just that this division sign here is super unclear. I don't even remember the last time I used a division sign because they get misinterpreted so easily. And especially in a situation like this where you have parentheses and you don't have an explicit sign between the 2 and the parentheses to tell you this is what you're supposed to be doing, that division sign can really easily cause confusion. I'm editing right now. I just wanted to jump in really quickly to clarify what I was just talking about. Essentially, if we look at division like a fraction. When you use a division sign, it's difficult to determine where the denominator of that fraction stops. And so that's why division signs can lead to a bunch of confusion, and why we get situations like this where we have this one arithmetic problem that ends up leading people to different answers, because it isn't clear where it's like, okay, the denominator is over here and now we're moving on to the next thing. I would say the best solution to these issues that we have with these problems would be to reformat the way that it's written. So if you're writing this arithmetic problem, you shouldn't use a division sign. Instead, you should just write it as a fraction. And so that way you either have 6 over 2 times 1 plus 2, so you know that the 6 is just dividing by 2, and then you're multiplying. Or you have 6 divided by 2 times 1 plus 2, and then you know that this whole thing gets multiplied together first, and then you divide 6 by it, and that way you eliminate any sort of confusion. If you came here looking for an objective answer to what this equals, I can't technically give you that. Personally, I think that 9 is more correct than 1, but I can't definitively say that 9 is the correct answer. So sorry if you wanted something like concrete. Really, I just came here to say that we should stop using division signs.